Cornelius Damar Hanum. Now, Cornelius Damar Hanum a decade of experience in Southeast Asia. Now, he leads programs at Forum Asia and is an alumni of the Yasili and Obama Foundation Leadership Programs. Holds a degree in engineering, management, and human rights law. Joining us live from Jakarta, Indonesia, this morning. Salamat Piagi, Brother Cornelius Damar Hanum. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having me.
And, let's start the discussion, Cornelius. I mean, after days of clashes between the Thailand-Cambodia border, some sort of a fragile peace has been reached. Now, Cambodia and Thailand and the conflict between both of them, both these countries at the border, receives obviously much less attention. When we read news about South, the Pacific region, it's always China, Taiwan, the Koreas, and sometimes Japan in the foray as well. Philippines with internal problems, Myanmar with internal insurgency, but Thailand, Cambodia has made historically much less of a discussion point. But this conflict at the border, I mean, what's the background and where is this going to lead, in your opinion, Cornelius?
Okay, thank you very much. The border conflict between Cambodia and Thailand actually have stemmed from a very long-standing territorial dispute, especially around the 11th century culture site. Although there is a ruling from the International Court of Justice that in 1962 the temple belongs to Cambodia, and it was clarified as well in 2013 that the surrounding area also falls under Cambodian sovereignty. Tension have persisted due to the unresolved border demarcation. So there is a long-standing dispute, and then in which we don't know the root causes, and the root cause have never been addressed. And then the situation recently escalated sharply in July 2025 following a deadly clash in the Changbok area, part of the contested border region, in which both sides accused one and another for launching the first attack. Again, we don't know any, and then there are different sources say different thing. And this recent violence actually was also intensified by political rivalries between Cambodian dynasty of Hun Sen and then Thailand Thaksin Shinawatra dynasty as well, and as well as rising nationalist rhetoric and economic retaliations, including trade bans and power cuts. So we also see this conflict as very deadly as well, where there are weaponry used, drones, rockets, artilleries, marking the deadliest fighting at the border in over a decade at the moment.
Cornelius, from a human rights perspective, is there a humanitarian crisis that is looming on the border between Thailand and Cambodia? The early days of the conflict a few weeks ago, we heard of the evacuations of many thousands of civilians from villages on both sides of the border as military hardware and personnel moved in. How are civilians on the border of both countries being affected, in your opinion?
Okay. So despite who start first, it's always the civilian who becoming the casualties. So the recent Cambodia-Thailand borders conflict has resulted in very significant human rights and humanitarian crisis. At least sources have mentioned that 41 people have been confirmed dead, 13 in Cambodia and 28 in Thailand, with civilian casualties on both sides as well. The fighting has displaced more than 260,000 people, including approximately 138,000 in Thailand and over 35,000 in Cambodia as well. And civilians have been forced to flee their home and seek shelter in temples, schools, temporary camps, and then intense military clashes involving artillery, drones, and airstrike have struck hospitals, schools, market, and religious sites as well. And these have drawn reactions from different human rights groups, including Forum Asia as well. And then reports of Thailand's use of cluster munition in populated areas have also raised particular concern. There are also physical harms, and then immediately it's also disrupt the access to basic human rights such as healthcare, education, and livelihood as well. And then there are also reported of how this crisis affected migrant workers and borders community as well. And then also freedom of the press have also been affected, in which, for example, Cambodia have restricted media access, and then Thailand have arrested citizen journalists who have tried to report the situation as well. So even though the ceasefire has been a temporary ceasefire has been reached at the moment, the situation remain fragile, in my opinion, and an ongoing violation might also uh, potentially happen. So that international oversight and accountability, and then uh, monitoring for the international community is very important in this situation.
Finally, Cornelius, how have the ASEAN region or the countries in the region, the South Pacific region, reacted to this escalation of the conflict? How have they attempted to de escalate? And are they tabling any form of meeting and intervention, especially your larger players like Indonesia, Malaysia, even China, and Japan for that matter? Have they given it adequate attention from a political point of view?
Hmm. Of course, at these situations, all eyes are goes to ASEAN and whether they could do meaningful actions to actually stop the uh, situation at the border. ASEAN, under Malaysia's chairship, of course, has played a key role in attempting to de-escalate the border conflict and protect civilians. And in response to the crisis, which resulted of death and then displacement, ASEAN have engaged in high-level diplomacy, urging both countries to show restraint. And then Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim also led the initiative recently, calling for immediate talk and respect for humanitarian principles. And then particularly on July 28, ASEAN convened an emergency meeting in Putrajaya with support from the US and China as well, where Cambodia and Thailand have agreed to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. And the bloc also emphasized the urgent need to protect civilians and rebuild trust, encouraging both sides to use existing bilateral frameworks such as the Joint Boundary Commissions and General Border Committee. ASEAN also highlighted the humanitarian toll of the conflicts, condemning damage to basic facilities, hospitals, schools, and religious sites as well. However, of course, uh, at the Thailand and Cambodia side, both have resisted third-party mediation and insist that ASEAN should become a facilitator rather than a mediator. And then again, what I mentioned, I mean, ASEAN have done what immediately what it could be done, and but at the same time, even though this ceasefire has been reached, the situation are still fragile at the moment. And I think it's really interesting to see what will ASEAN try to achieve in the coming weeks or months immediately as well to further de-escalate the situation.
Cornelius Damar Hanung, thank you for joining us on Radio Islam International with the discussion out of Jakarta, Indonesia, with our Asia Pacific report. Have a good rest of your day ahead of you. Sihat Selamat Pagi.
Thank you very much.
That was, of course, our